Hello everyone, this is Joe W. Today I'm going to show you my top 5 favourite now albums and top 5 weakest now albums of the 1990s in my opinion. Now I'm going to show you my top 5 weakest now albums of the 1990s first. Now they're not necessarily bad albums, but it's just qualities I feel that's not as strong as the other 90s albums to me. Let's get to it. Coming in at number 5 is Now 36. Now 36 is just alright. Though this one is alright as well, though I have a few highlights like from Bee Gees, White Town, Mark Morrison, Peter Andre, Damage, and George Michael. And I really like this cover from Cavano as well, I Can Make You Feel Good. But my main two favourites are from Beautiful South and Jamiroquai. The rest of this disc was just alright with a lot of pop tunes near the end, though I have a few lowlights like Blue Boys Remember Me and My Thoughts Got Worse on Eternals Don't You Love Me, which I found a bit plain to me. Now, disc 2 is better in terms of the first half. A lot of really good watch tunes, my favourites being from U2, Placebo, Monaco, Space. I also really liked James, Manson, Cast. I also quite like ones from Prodigy and Chemical Brothers. The second half was kind of mixed, although I have a few highlights like Divine Comedy and BBE, though I have a few lowlights as well, like Alicia Static's Indestructible, which my thoughts got worse on recently, and also Sash on Corey 4 in terms of the vocals. But I know a lot of people like this one. Though Now 36 is just an alright album, but it's placed at number 5 on my top 5 weakest albums of the 1990s. Coming in at number 4 is Now 29. This one's much better than Disc 2 to me. I may like the second quarter and the fourth quarter of Disc 1. I like the dance section, with my favourites being from Wakefield Saturday Night, which is pretty iconic, and Real McCoy's Another Night is one of my favourite 90s dance classics of all time. Also really liked New Order, Sophie B. Hawkins, and Corona's Rhythm of the Night, which I liked more over the years. I also really like What tunes near the end, my favourites being from the R.E.M. and Oasis, and Zombie is a really good way to close this. Though I have a couple of low lights in the mid section, like Used to Endure, Crash Test Dummies, and Louis Armstrong, which I know is a popular Bond theme, but it's just not really for me. Now, Disc 2 is one of the weakest Disc 2s to me. I maybe like the ones in the third of the disc, though, apart from Incredible by M Beat, which I think is the exact opposite to me. And my favourites are being from Two Thirds, Oasia, and Blur's iconic Park Life. I also really like ones from Real to Real, Sparks, and also Shampoo's catchy Trouble. Though with the rest of Disc 2 and the first 2/3 are just kind of mid, like a couple of okay ones, and also some low lights from Massive Attack and Gal Wang from Shakadumas and Price, which my thoughts got worse on. It's not as bad as a Twist and Shout cover, but you know. So Now 29 is just kind of average album to me, but so that's why it's number 4 on my top 5 weakest albums of the 1990s. Coming in at number 3 is Now 41. Now, I know a lot of people like this album more than I do, and I can respect that. Though this one was just kind of mid, and my main two highlights are U2 and Beautiful South, and there's a couple of good pop tunes as well from Robbie Williams, Culture Club, also E17, Trisha McNeil, and Lighthouse Humbly. A lot of okay pop tunes though, not much variety, and some mid songs as well from All Saints, Spice Girls to me, and my main low lights being Aqua's Turn Back Time. Though Disc 2 is better to me because there's a bit more variety. Of course, it has one of my favourite dance tunes of the 90s, Music Sounds Better With You by Stardust, which sadly wasn't on the Now Yearbook 98, sadly didn't get licensed. But I have a lot of highlights as well from James, Fatboy Slim, Space, and also Shamrock's catchy Tell Me Ma. There's a lot of good upbeat tunes from Teaspoon and Benga Boys, although I'm not a fan of Touch and Go's Would You, though, which is not for me. And also some good watch tunes as well from Eagle Eye Cherry and Cardigans and Embrace. Yeah, so Disc 2 is better, though Now 41 is just another average album to me, so that's why it's at number 3 on my top 5 weakest albums of the 1990s. Coming in at number 2 is Now 42. Yeah, it's weaker than Now 41 to me, and it's still kind of average, but comes behind Now 41. Also, this one is actually fine. I mean, it starts out decently, of course, with one of my favourite Church songs, Believe, and also Steps, both Better Best Forgotten and the album medley with various artists. The rest of the first half was just kind of okay, and then we got some fun upbeat ones from Venga Boys and Cartoons, Don't At Me. And also, I like this remix, You Shall Be Dancing from Blockster, and also Full Booners Popped, which is a very underrated remix of Iggy Pop's Passenger. And there's some good rap tunes as well from A Plus and Dita. Yeah, so this one was quite good. Then this too, I may like the first half, apart from Mr. Oizo's Fat Beat, which is just pretty boring to me. And I love the first four, particularly Lenny Kravitz's Fire Away, which is really iconic rock classics. Also my favourites from Robbie Williams, Armand Van Helden, and Fatboy Slim. A lot of good rock tunes as well from Stereophonics and Television. A lot of good ones from All Seeing Eye, or Divine Comedy and Beautiful South. And the second half was just kind of mixed. A couple of okay ones and a few mid. My main least favourites being Ladysmith Black Mamazzo's Incanyezi Nazazi, which was one of the most boring tracks in my opinion. So yeah, Now 42 is just another average one. That's why it is number 2 of my top 5 weakest albums of the 1990s. For weakest now of the 1990s, in my opinion, is Now 27. I respect your opinion if you love this album. And of course, this one is just one of the weakest disc ones to me. Though it had a couple of good pop tunes at the beginning from M People, E17. Also, Dreams, Things Gonna Get Better, which I liked more over the years. And I maybe like the rock section near the end. My favourites from Meatloaf, Primal Scream, and Jim Blossoms. Also quite liked Beautiful South's Good as Gold, which I liked how they said the lyrics carry on regardless, even though they're not actually referencing the film. Anyways, the rest of the CD was just kind of okay. It's just so many ballads, some okay ones, but some I'm not into at all, like from Return to Innocence and Linger, and also Twist and Shout by Chakademus and Prize is one of my least favourite covers ever. Yeah, just my opinion. Of course, this too is slightly better. I mean, the first half has a lot of good dance tunes, apart from Dupe, which I found pretty annoying to me. But I have a lot of favourites on this too, like Culture Beat, Tour Limited, Credit to the Nation, and also dance classic I like to move it from Real to Real, which of course later became a staple hit in Madagascar. I also really like the ones from Capella and K7 and EYC. I also, Right Said Fred's Wonder Man, I liked more over the years. It was pretty catchy. Though the second half was just kind of mixed. There's some boring ones, in my opinion, from Bjork and Deep Forest. Although I quite liked Urban Cookie Collective's Sail Away, which is quite underrated. And some mid ones as well. Though Now 27 is just kind of mid to me. We have with a couple of highlights. So that's why Now 27 is the weakest album of the 1990s, in my opinion. Let's get to my top 5 favourite albums of the 1990s now. Coming in at number 5 is Now 31. I've always liked this album, and it's recently entered my top 5 favourites of the 1990s. This one's really good. Has a lot of my favourites from Supergrass, Oasis, Weezer, also Duran Duran's cover of White Lines, which is a brilliant cover in my opinion. Wet Wet Wet, Don't Want to Forgive Me, that was a good way to open for this as well. A lot of good classics from Pulp, Indie Kamosi, and also Seal's Kiss and Rose, which I liked more over the years. And also some rock tunes near the end from Del Mitri and EMF's cover of I'm a Believer. It doesn't beat Monkeys and Smash Mouth, but I still really like it nonetheless. Also, Human League's One Man in My Heart is very underrated as well. I like this one. Now, this too has a brilliant first half. Of course, one of my favourite dance classics from Living Joy, Dreamer. I love the first 3 songs as well from Altia Brothers, M&8. Also Montel Jordan's This Is How We Do It, which has become one of my favourites over the years. I also like a lot of dance songs on the first half, like from Dream, Ginny, also Clocks, Whoop There It Is, which is one of my favourite covers. Some decent rap songs as well from PJ and Duncan and Love City Groove. I also like that JX track near the end of the disc. So Now 31's a really great album in my opinion. That's why it's number 5 on my top 5 favourite albums of the 1990s. Coming in at number 4 is Now 35. This one has a really great first half. Spice Girls and George Michael kicked things off pretty well, also leading to one of my favourite rock classics from Deep Blue Something, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Also have favourites from Beautiful South and the Blue Tones. I also like the comeback song Don't Dream It's Over from Crowded House. I also really like the ones from Dodgy, Pet Shop Boys. You're Gorgeous by Baby Bird. I liked more over the years. And I like the ending of this too as well, from Brenda Carlisle, Cast, and also my second favourite Suede song, Beautiful Ones. Yeah, so a really good disc overall. And this too, I may like the second half. Got good dance songs, of my favourites being from Strike and Stretch and Vern. Yeah, I also like Insomnia from Faithless, which is a classic. Also BBE, and also Wild Child's Jump to My Beat, Tall Paul remix. And I had some of my favourite watch tunes near the end from Space and Shed 7, even though it's surrounded by some of my duds, in my opinion, from Underworld and Bjork. And although the first half had some pretty good pop tunes as well from Damage and Louise. Also has one of my favourite dance covers from Clock, Oh What a Night. Yeah, so Now 35 is overall brilliant Now album in my opinion, so that's why it's number 4 on my top 5 favourite Now albums of 1990s. Coming in at number 3 is Now 34. Now 34 and Now 35 has some tough competition for me in 1996, but this album just edges Now 35 to me. Has a brilliant start with my favourite Spice Girls song, Wannabe. A lot of great summer hits on this one. I have favourites from Dodgy, Live in Joy, Tupac, and also the iconic Macarena, no matter what version it is. Yeah. And of course, Natalie Mullen and Adam Creighton has my favourite version of Mission Impossible theme. And of course, yeah, a lot of great classics as well from Peter Andre, Gina G's, just a little bit, back when the UK had some great Eurovision hits. And although 2020 has some good ones, of course, we also have Return of the Mac, Jazz It Up, and Sunshine. And also has a really great ending from Robert Miles' Children, which is a pretty iconic dance instrumental here with that iconic piano thing. Now, this too has a really strong first half. I have some of my rock favourites from Oasis, Bon Jovi, Blur. Also my favourite Suede song, Trash. And of course, a lot of ones I really like as well, like from the Blue Tones, Paul Weller's Peacock Suit, which I liked more over the years. Also Bryan Adams and Joan Osborne. And some good ones near the end as well from OMD, Cast. Also OMC's How Bizarre, which is a really fun classic. So overall, Now 34 is brilliant summer Now album in my opinion. So that's why it's at number 3 of my top 5 favourite Now albums of the 1990s. Coming in at number 2 is Now 24. Now 24 is a brilliant early 90s album in my opinion. This one really kicks things off really well with one of my favourite 80s classics from Bluebell's Young at Heart, which re-entered due to an advert. Also has some brilliant classics, some of my favourite ones from Sub Sub, Stereo MC's Robin S, and particularly Two Unlimited's No Limit, which is a real iconic dance classic of the 90s. And of course, has a lot of really great highlights on this one, like from Take That, Snow, I quite like Shabuanks as well. Of course, Lulu and Capella and Sunscreen were pretty good too. Also, Labour of Love making a good comeback to close the disc. After that, Born to Breed from Murray Love, which is now my least favourite of the album, thinking about it over the years. Now, this too kicks off really well with Duran Duran's Ordinary Love, which is a great classic. Also has my favourites from Lenny Kravitz and also Genesis' live version of Invisible Touch. Some good underrated tracks from World Party and The Beloved, Sweet's Harmony. I like a lot of tunes in it as well from Depeche Mode, Ugly Kid Joe and Peter Gabriel, and into one of my favourite Paul McCartney songs, Hope of Deliverance. So overall, brilliant track list, and that's why Now 24 is my second favourite album of the 1990s. Now let's get to my favourite. My favourite album of the 1990s is Now 37. Just a brilliant album in my opinion. Of course, this one has some really great ones in the first half. Some of my favourite ones from No Mercy, Alternate, George Michael. Also some great ones from No Doubt, Spice Girls, also Rosie Gaines. It has some good rap tunes in it as well from Coolio, and also one of my favourite ones from Warren G, Smoking Me Out, and some good ones near the end from Nine Tyson. Also really liked Foxy Brown, and also Space Jam's I Believe I Can Fly is one of the only things I like to remember from, Well, this too has some great rock tunes. My favourites being from The Verve, Seahorses, Fun Loving Criminals, Paul McCartney. Also, one of my favourite rock tunes of the 90s, Guiding Star cast. Also, we like ones from U2, Robbie Williams, Texas Halo, which I liked more over the years. Also, Supergrass, Blur, and James. Yeah, some good dance tunes near the end. Well, apart from Orbital, Saints, which I'm not really into. I quite like the choruses. Ain't Nobody. Has a good ending. Give Me Love from DJ Diddy. Yeah, so brilliant track list overall, and that's why it's my favourite album of the 1990s. Now, I'll show you my rankings for all the 1990s albums. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing my top 5 favourite albums and top 5 weakest albums of the 1990s, in my opinion. Comment down below your favourite album of the 1990s and weakest album of the 1990s. See you next video.